Hey guys, so your packaging inserts are an important part of the FBA process to increase your likelihood of positive reviews, a better customer experience, and for the reduction of FBA fees. Nick is also going to be covering a lot of the details about what should be on your packaging and marketing insert in the pre-launch section, but I wanted to make sure to cover it from the supply chain side as well. First, you need to make sure to request a packaging template from your manufacturer. The template files are usually requested as an AI file that can be edited in Adobe Illustrator. Adobe Illustrator uses vectors to ensure that there is no distortion no matter what size packaging you use. So keeping sets together. This image is actually from the Amazon website under their packaging information. I'll include a link below, but it's really important to remember that you should assume whoever is grabbing your product, whether it's a warehouse worker or a robot, they've never seen your product before. So if you're selling a 6-pack, they shouldn't have to think about how many items to grab. It should be simple and only one. That means that the entire set should be held together by a poly bag or a plastic shrink wrap. Using that same example, if you're selling a set of 16, they should come together as a set of 16 packaged together like the image on the right. The image on the left has the items loose, so a robot could mistakenly only grab one instead of grabbing 16 together. So there's even more rules I wanted to highlight from Amazon's website around polybag. This is a super important one because it's commonly used as a form of packaging products together, like I mentioned before. So again, I've heard tons of stories of people not putting the appropriate warning labels on their polybags and then having issues with FBA later. So don't be that guy. I really want to make sure that all of you guys are ahead of the curve on this one. So the other important things to mention is that polybags need to be completely sealed and shouldn't be loose at all. The reason being is that Amazon uses a machine called a Cubiscan, where Amazon places the products into a machine and it scans the outside edges to get the measurements of the product. It's how they calculate your FBA fee. Now, let's say that you have 2 baseballs together in a large sealed polybag. Everything is okay, right? Well, not exactly. The Cubiscan will measure the outside edges of the polybag and charge you more FBA fees as if the products were way bigger than they actually are. That means you really want to confirm with your manufacturer to make sure that they vacuum seal or that they keep the polybags tightened with tape. It could end up saving you thousands of dollars in unnecessary FBA fees. Made in China. Please, please, please don't forget this label. I've heard of so many horror stories about this as well, with sellers not including it on their product packaging and it being a mess later on. It's a law according to the U.S. Customs and Border Patrol for any imported good to state the country of the manufacturer or production unless there is an exception. The only exception that I know of is for goods that are incapable of being marked, like fruits or vegetables. Adding a logo. Anthony and Nick are going to be covering a lot of marketing and launch techniques that you don't want to go to waste because of hijackers. And a hijacker is someone that comes in kind of impersonating your product on your listing when it's not an exact match. So I've had tons of close friends that sell generic products that didn't have any branding. And guess what? It becomes really difficult to get other people off your listing if there isn't anything that can be differentiated in terms of packaging or branding. So this can be really simple, like adding a sticker onto your product with your logo, but just make sure that it's differentiated. And then reducing breakage. So reducing breakage is really important for 2 major reasons. One is that breakage creates a negative customer experience, which could lead to negative reviews. And then 2, it's really expensive to replace a product. So you want to make sure that the product is ready to be shipped to the customer without breaking. If you have a breakable product, ensure that the manufacturer includes bubble wrap, thicker cardboard, or whatever you need to do to make sure that it can handle being shipped directly to the customer. And we'll cover this more in the inspection report, but tell them that you'll be including 5 drop tests as part of the inspection. A drop test is exactly what it sounds like, and the inspector will actually pick up the carton and then drop it 5 times, usually from about 30 inches high. And then they'll open the carton and see what happened to the items inside and report any breakage. And then now the UPC and FNSKU labels. So I know that Anthony already covered the labels briefly in the fundamentals, but I wanted to make sure that we cover them in terms of inventory placement as well. It's super, super important. So these are a little bit more advanced tactics, but will definitely help you as you scale. So for each item, it needs to have a unique identifier so that the warehouse employees know that they got the correct product, like we mentioned before. So those labels are either a UPC label or an FNSKU label. And you're supposed to have only one label that can be scanned on each product. So let's go over the benefits of each. So a UPC code is a generally accepted barcode that can be used on any other marketplaces in retail stores, etc. The downside is that they're actually universal, and Amazon will place the inventory in what is called stickerless commingled inventory. That means that all the inventory that matches that UPC code will be stored together. So if a hijacker orders products that are similar to yours, applies your UPC code, it will be difficult for Amazon to distinguish what you sent in and what the hijacker sent in. That means people can impersonate your goods, and it's going to be a mess to prove it. And one more thing before I forget, Amazon will also give you the option to apply labels for 30 cents per label, having them do it. But why? That makes no sense. You can have your manufacturer included in your packaging, and it's completely free. We've never used this service, but just wanted to put that out there. The FNSKU label is your other option, and pro tip, this is what we prefer. So Amazon allows you to create your own label, which will only work on Amazon and is completely unique to you and the product. The benefit is that when you send in the inventory under this ASIN, it will be separated from other people using the same UPC code. And that way, if a hijacker did try to counterfeit your product, it's way easier to identify who sent in what. But again, the downside is these codes won't scan in retail stores or other places besides Amazon. So we believe in the 80-20 rule, which focuses on the 20% of channels that bring in the 80% of your revenue. For most sellers, including us, that is Amazon. So I would highly recommend focusing on building out your Amazon, using the FNSKU, and then don't worry about retail and having inventory with UPC codes applied until later down the line. Thanks.